Jennifer, it's Ellen. I am sending you this message today in regards to the conversation we had about your business, Latte Mamas, and I am just wanting to give you a little bit of a legal background and kind of my preliminary analysis about your situation based on the information that we have thus far. I think we've already discussed this, but I wanted to go back over it a little bit. We talked a little bit last time about how federal law does not regulate the commercial exchange of breast milk. So around the nation, there's no clear consensus there's no real regulations or restrictions on your ability to sell breast milk. But in your specific jurisdiction, so in your state, it's unlawful to sell bodily fluids. It's unclear whether breast milk falls into that category, but frankly, based on plain language, it seems like there's a good chance that it would. Additionally, since there's never been any challenge, and the court's never really considered the issue in this jurisdiction, we don't have a good sense of whether the court would fall one way or the other, but the plain language of bodily fluids doesn't by any means exclude breast milk. So what I'm trying to say is it is unclear legally whether this is something you can do in your jurisdiction. I would say, frankly, that it's somewhat risky to move forward with selling your breast milk where you are right now, in large part because we don't know the law and we don't know how a court would rule on it. There's really no precedent for it. It's just, I want to be very frank, very clear with you about that. It's not clear how that would work out. But at that same time, if you are willing to move forward with that risk, so if you're happy to recognize that you might face a lawsuit, criminal or civil, and that you might face charges which would be a significant financial burden, I would assume, if you were to retain legal assistance to represent yourself in that case. It's one, a risk because you would be spending a lot of money, and two, it's a risk because we don't know how the court could come out. So you might spend that money on litigation and the court would rule in your favor, which would be great because you could potentially keep your business going, but depending on whether you had enough money to. But at the same time, you could spend all that money and the court would come out not in your favor. So I recognize you've invested a significant amount of money in this. I think that there's nothing keeping you necessarily on the legal end from doing this right now, except possible kickbacks from the law. But there's no law currently in effect that would necessarily keep you from doing this right now. And you could also, there's a third option where you could attempt to sell your breast milk in a jurisdiction where they have decided already that breast milk is not a bodily fluid and is not regulated by that state. So those are all options for you. I think it's very much up to you at this point whether you're willing to risk the lawsuit. I don't want to weigh in too much on your financial situation, but considering the investment you've made and the small amount that you have left maybe in your savings, I think it would be prudent to not move forward at this point with it, or to try to sell in a jurisdiction where we have more clarity on the law, because this is a legal risk, and to you personally, I recognize that it is a financial risk as well. I appreciate speaking with you about this. I would be happy to continue talking about it. I'd be happy to chat about it more, especially if you'd like us to do more in-depth research on other jurisdictions. If you have any particular questions, please just let me know, and I'm happy to chat.